If you want to start by telling a meaningful story in business, your email messaging and marketing has to be top notch in today's ecosystem of closing deals and adding value. It's estimated by my friends over at HubSpot that there are approximately 4 billion daily email users. 37% of brands are also increasing the amount of money they spend on their email marketing. Meanwhile, the publication also reports 77% of marketers and executives have seen an increase in their email engagement during the last 12 months. Studies have also indicated that the average business person sends at least a minimum of 40 emails each and every day, attempting to engage, inspire, and drive a prospective customer to take a call of action. My friend Tanya Brody has been in the email marketing game and copywriting scene for over a decade now. This traveling musician turned copywriter and email expert says, if you want to grow and expand your business, don't start with Facebook ads, but rather consider email marketing as the initial place to prosper and grow your business. Brody says that there are two common mistakes that every business tends to make, no matter the size. First, they lack the presence of an email list entirely. And second, they collect email addresses, but they refuse to email their subscribers on a regular basis. So if they do send a sales email, no one remembers who they are. Brody says that email marketing is one of the most efficient ways to grow and expand your business. And she joined me this week to engage in conversation all about how to solve those two pain points I brought up as a business owner or a corporate executive. And she tells me how a traveling musician goes from life on the road to helping others grow and scale their effectiveness in email marketing. Brody has a lot of high energy enthusiasm for this work and her field, so I hope that you can all match her energy and enthusiasm throughout this conversation. Without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Tanya, if you're ready, I'll welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you all about copywriting and email marketing. Great to see you this afternoon, and thank you so very much for being here.
My pleasure. Let's do this.
Absolutely. No. Tanya, I know you've been in the copywriting game for over a decade now, and you say that you've come across two common mistakes that businesses of any size make. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about those two mistakes and how a businesses can go about remedying those mistakes so that they can maximize their potential.
Sure. So there are two big mistakes I see businesses making, and this is literally of all sizes. I've dealt with individuals, solopreneurs, mom and pop shops, all the way up to big corporations. And I see this everywhere. Mistake number one is actually not having an email list at all. And the reason that's a mistake is you spend a ton of money, most of your advertising budget usually, on trying to get new customers, but not everybody buys right away. So if you are, just trying to get new customers from Facebook ads or what have you, and not growing an email list of all of those people who said they were interested but didn't buy right away, you are literally leaving money on the table. You are saying to prospective customers who didn't buy right that second, well, we don't want you because you didn't buy right away. You're not ready yet. But instead, if you have an email list and you nurture those customers until they're ready to buy, which may be a week, maybe a month, maybe a year, doesn't matter. They're still good customers. Then that way you are not wasting all of those advertising dollars and telling those people they don't matter. The second mistake that I see is a lot of people, a lot of businesses collect email addresses and then they never email them. So they have this huge email list and they don't do anything with it. Or they send an email once or twice a year when they're having a big sale and that's it. And the problem is if, let's say, Kevin, let's say you subscribe to my email list and you're interested in what I do, whatever widget I'm selling, and you do that in June. And I have a big Black Friday sale every year. And the only time you hear from me is when I have that big Black Friday sale. I'm going to show up in your inbox and you're going to look at my email and go, who are you and why are you in my inbox? I bought that widget months ago. Why should I even care? And you're going to delete my email. Or worse, you're going to send my email to spam, which will be terrible for my sender reputation. So those are the two really big mistakes that I see businesses doing. And the simple way to solve that problem is to collect email addresses and nurture those subscribers once a week, at minimum once a month, reminding them of your existence, explaining to them why you have the solution to their problem, and you will make more money, keep your sender reputation good, and just have a better relationship with your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Tony, you bring up a very good point about the power of networking. And, email networking is certainly a cost-effective way to do that. So tell me about networking through email and how important that is.
Well, so we refer to it as nurturing because from the email marketer's perspective, most of the time we are sending out an email to 500 or 5,000 or 50,000 people, depending on the size of the list. But that conversation is still with one person because I am sending the email and you are the person reading it. So when you think about it, you are still having a conversation with an individual, even if it's 50,000 individual conversations, if you think about it that way. But the other thing to remember is people respond to those emails. And that is a chance to open a conversation, a direct conversation between you and your actual customers. So you can get their feedback. You can find out what they thought of your product or service if they actually purchased it. You can find out why they might not have purchased it if they didn't, and give them the information they need to make that purchase. You can find out what it is they really need and make changes to your future productions to get a product or service that is genuinely serving your customer, as opposed to maybe that thing that sort of serves them, but you're finding out that it may serve half of your audience, but if you made these 3 improvements, you'd have a whole different product that would serve a whole different part of your audience and help you make more sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ted, I'm wondering if we can talk specifically for a moment about email lists and how broad or how narrow they should be, depending on whether you have a certain target market or demographic that you're going after. So how broad or narrow should email list be?
Well, I actually do advocate for figuring out who your target audience is. I used to work for a lawyer marketing company, and I would have lawyers when I'd say, "So who is your target audience?" They'd say, "Everyone with a pulse." To which I would say, "Really? Because, you're a personal injury lawyer. Well, shouldn't it be everyone with a pulse who's actually had a accident recently?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, that." So if you can narrow your target audience down to the people that you are genuinely trying to speak to, then a lot of that solves itself. So, for example, I work with small businesses, usually small to medium businesses, who are growing their email lists and want to write more regularly to their subscribers to have an actual nurture sequence program in place. So that's who I tend to speak to. If you are, selling that widget, you want to speak to the people who that widget serves best. And, that's the reason you want to do that is A, you're saving yourself a lot of money by narrowing that audience down and not trying to market to everybody in the world. B, you're going to be able to speak directly to that person and their needs. Whereas if you try and keep it really, really broad, take in everybody, that message is going to get lost because you're going to sort of say, well, you can use it for this and you can use it for this. And the people won't see their particular story in your marketing, which is what people are looking for. They want to see that, oh, yeah, I see that story relates to my problem. I'm going to check this out. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to come up with something that interests the people in your target market that they can download, or you can give them a coupon or what have you, something to get them to give you their email list, the address, so you can add them to your list. And then that's where you start building that relationship. But that thing should be something that will help them solve a small part of their problem. It's commonly referred to as a small, quick win. I think Pat Flynn actually created that particular phrase. But the goal behind that is it shows that you actually know what you're talking about, right? So for an example, my giveaway, my lead magnet, is a list of 30 subject lines and writing prompts that people can download and use to write nurture emails. So when I show them this and they're like, oh, writing isn't as hard as I thought it was, then they're interested in going, okay, she actually knows what her stuff. I want her to help me write better emails and get a better result from those emails.
Yeah, and I am someone who believes that you can create a unique identity through email marketing. I'll use myself for an example. So when I do email outreach as a speaker, I tend to use my personal story as sort of a hook because, Tanya, at the age of 9, I found out that I wouldn't be able to walk for the duration of my life because of the severity of my CP without assistance. So I tell people in my email outreach and my email copy that at the age of 9 that I was told that I wouldn't be able to walk. And then I tell them I work with organizations to infuse the hiring of folks with disabilities. So I'm curious how you think you can use your unique story or offering to create an identity through your email marketing campaign.
Well, the fact of the matter is we are all, as humans, hardwired to listen to stories. Once upon a time, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. When you say that type of thing, people's ears perk up. They're like, oh, wait, there's a story coming. I want to hear that. So when you're telling your story, for example, when you are telling your story to people who might want to have you in as a speaker, as an example, then you are giving them the opportunity to get to know you. You are literally building that relationship. We want to buy from, work with, to get services from people we know, like, and trust, right? So if I tell you my story of how I used to be a professional traveling musician before I was an email marketer, and how I traveled all over the country, playing music, and how I ended up becoming a copywriter and email marketer, that's going to show you who I am. It's going to show you my values. It's going to show you how I live my life. And we're going to get to know each other a little bit more. You're going to go, oh, this is someone I actually want to do business with. This is someone I'm actually interested in having come in and speak to my organization. This is someone who I trust and I respect. So telling your story is one of the most powerful things you can do in your email marketing. And a lot of businesses don't do it. A lot of businesses are like, well, we don't want to get too personal. I'm like, you should absolutely get personal. I want to know your founder story. I want to know your mission. I want to know your values, because your customers want to know that. Your customers want to know what you stand for. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you believe. And sharing these things is incredibly valuable for creating that voice, that brand, that personality that's going to come through in your emails. For example, I am a total science fiction geek. I will happily admit that to anyone who asks me. And I write about that all the time in my emails. So that way, all of my subscribers and customers know Tanya's a total science fiction geek. She's probably watched the latest whatever, the Marvel movie, the Star Wars movie, what have you. And she's going to say something about it in her emails. And when I talk to her on the phone or when I come to class, I can ask her something about it. You're building that relationship. You're showing your human side. Because I think in this world of, well, let's face it, AI and robots, we need to show our human side to relate to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about how a musician turns into a copywriter. So tell me your backstory.
So the answer is, yes, I was a professional traveling musician, and I was the one who did all of our booking and marketing. So it was sort of a natural progression for me to become a copywriter, because I was the one who was writing our newsletter. I was the one who was sending out all the emails. I was the one who was writing all of our website copy. So it was something I'd already been doing. And when I found copywriting, I was really excited, because it's like, I'm already doing this. I can totally do this. So, I traveled around the country performing at Renaissance festivals, libraries, Scottish festivals, Irish festivals, pubs and bars, you name it, all over the country. I played Celtic music for about 10 years. And eventually my band broke up. My life took a turn for the different. And I decided I needed to do something else. And that's when I found copywriting. And I was like, okay, I have a degree in creative writing and theater. This is the perfect transition for me. I can still use my degree. I can still write, which I love to do. And I get to help businesses share their story.
Well, I have to tell you, so I'm a journalism grad myself, and I love having conversations and diving into the nitty gritty of what makes people tick from a conversational perspective. So I knew we were going to have some synergy today, and I'm also curious to ask you about the power of the follow up, because as business people, oftentimes your first initial email may get read, but oftentimes it's forgotten about. So tell me about the importance of the follow up and how critical that is to business success.
So one of the common phrases in marketing is the fortune is in the follow up. That's true in marketing and sales. That's why salespeople just keep calling you. Once you've sent in your interest, you filled out their form, people, those salespeople will just keep following up with you. Hey, are you ready to talk about? Hey, are you still interested in? Hey, did you want that car, that carpet, that, new order for your company, what have you? Is because really, as I said earlier, probably 9 to 10, let's say 10 people check out your product or service and they subscribe to your email list. One of those people might buy right away. Well, if you have those people on your email list, those other 9 people still have the potential to buy from you. And honestly, in this internet world, it's more like 1 out of every 100 people. So you can see why email follow-up is so important. And that's where the nurture emails come in. You are sending your story. You are sending information about your product or service. You are sending case studies about people who have used your product or service and how it has affected their lives. You are sending how to, like little, here's how you can use products X, Y, and Z to, solve this problem. You are showing people what their lives could be like if they had your product or service. And that's very gently guiding them towards making that purchase.
Absolutely. A friendly nudge never hurt anybody, right?
Right. And staying top of mind is really, really important, because if you don't, and they still have this problem, they're going to go somewhere else, probably to one of your competitors, to solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, email positioning. I want to talk to you about email positioning in terms of what to put in an email, the structure of an email, the length of an email. What do you think is the perfect length and structure of a perfect sales email? What are your thoughts there?
So I firmly believe that every email should do 3 things. Number 1, it should give value. So whether that value is you're just telling your personal story and letting people get to know you, or you are showing people how your product or service works, or you are giving that case study, there should be something that your reader gets from reading that email. So there is an exchange going on. Number 2, that email should make sure that, again, you're staying top of mind. It should interest your reader. It should give them a reason to open and read that email. So you can't send the same old boring stuff week after week after week. You do need to change things up. And then finally, and this is something I will swear to the day I die, every email has to have some sort of call to action. And there are so many people out there who are like, oh, but I don't want the people to think all I do is sell. It's like, you don't have to tell people that they have to buy something. You can send them to a podcast. You can send them to a blog post. You can send them to an article about your company. You can send them to an appointment scheduling app so they can schedule an appointment with you. You don't have to sell hard, as in go buy this product, in every single email. Every week I send out 2 emails myself from my list. And the first one always goes to a blog post. And that blog post is chock full of value. I even have an entire blog post on how long an email should be. And the answer is, it depends. It depends on what you're doing. My blog post emails are really short. My second email of the week is what I call my value email, or my sharing email, where I tell stories, where I give out useful information, where I give those how-tos. Here's how you write a good email. And then what I do is, at the end of that, I always put a call to action for whatever product or service I'm promoting that week. So, and whether that's, sign up for a consultation so we can see if we're a good fit and I can help you with your email marketing, or come take one of my courses. That's how I do that. And when you ease that in there, when you give people something that is helpful to them, they're going to be more likely to reciprocate by clicking on that link and going and seeing what it is that you are selling. And then when they are ready, buying your product or service. So there has to be that structure, if you will, and it's a very simple structure to every email. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are giving, you are sharing, and you are, and I am totally guilty of writing way too long, and I will happily edit my emails. I believe Mark Twain was the one who said, if I'd had more time, I'd have written a shorter letter, because I will write and write and write and write and write, and then go back and go, oh, this is way too long. I should really trim some of this out. But you want to be respectful of people's time, but you also want to make sure they have the information they need. So if it takes you 600 words to do that in an email, do that. if you're sending someone to a blog post, that blog post is giving them all that information. You want to send them to that blog post to give them that. You don't want to tell them everything in the blog post because you want them to click and go to the blog post.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the length, it depends. But in terms of the structure, give value, make sure that there's a reason for them to open and read your email, and make sure there's a call to action. That's my short answer. There's a lot more to it if you want to get into it, but that's a much longer conversation.
Yeah, I want to share a quick story with you, actually. So so I graduated journalism school, and I have the same problem that you do, and I write endlessly to the point where I want to get my full point across in words. And often when I got assignments back in college, my professors would write, everything doesn't have to be a novel. So I'm still working on it, okay?
I understand this problem all too well.
Absolutely. So we'll work on it together. How about that?
That's totally fair.
Yeah. So tell me, Tanya, when we look at email campaigns and whether they're effective and when we need to tweak them, what do you think we should look at tweaking email campaigns, and how do you think we should manage whether they're effective or not? What are your thoughts there?
So there are 3 things you really want to look at in your email campaign. The first is your delivery rate. Are your emails getting into inboxes, right? So is your email service provider actually sending emails out? Are they bouncing? Are you getting a lot of spam complaints? That's the first thing you want to look at. If you're getting a lot of spam complaints, you may have a problem with your sender reputation. Your domain may have been blacklisted. So you want to look at that. Hopefully that hasn't happened to you, but I've had clients that has happened to, and it's a big problem. The next thing you want to look at is your open rate. Now, everyone says open rates don't matter as much as they used to because Apple has put in their big privacy thing, and basically my Apple Mail account is essentially opening my emails for me, whether I read them or not, as far as my email service provider is concerned. So there is some debate as to whether that's still an effective metric. But if there's like a drastic drop in your open rate, then you need to look at why that is happening. But your open rate is telling you whether people are engaging with your subject line. So if people are engaging with your subject line and your open rate remains pretty constant, and average open rate is around 20%. If you're getting higher than that, you're doing well. If you're getting lower than that, you need to look at things. Then, if you're staying consistent around the same general open rate, then you're probably doing pretty well on your subject lines. The next thing you want to check is your click-through rate, because that means someone's actually opened your email, read it, and clicked on the link. So if you're not actually clicking on your link, then you actually need to look at your email copy. Is it compelling enough? Are you including that call to action? Are you convincing people they need to click on that call to action? They need to click on that link. So those are the 3 things I would look at in terms of whether an email campaign is effective and whether or not you need to tweak things.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tanya, let's talk about subject lines, because I know that that's the first thing you see when you get an email in your inbox. So tell me the importance of subject lines and how important they are when we're putting together a structure of an email. What are your thoughts there?
I think subject lines are possibly the most important part of an email, because their job is to get that email opened. That's what they're supposed to do. So, I go through my email and, scroll through my inbox, and I literally will see the same subject line over and over and over again, because people are using the same thing over and over again, or they're swiping from other people and not doing a good job of adjusting it for their business. I open the ones that interest me. That is what we all do. We are all human. So I tend to do a lot of curiosity type subject lines, things that make me go, what? Huh? I need to know more about that. I ask questions. And I tend to do a lot of silly references. I will make Star Wars references in my subject lines, or I will reference things that are current events. For example, I'm trying to think of I'll say a current movie. What does, your email marketing have to do with, the latest Marvel movie, as an example, just to toss an idea out there. But you want to do something that is going to attract your reader's attention and engage them enough to want to click on that thing. So some of this is testing. Some of this is seeing what works with your audience. I will be completely honest. For my music email newsletter, which I still have because I still play some music, and I send that out once a month specifically to my music email subscribers, my subject line every month is March email newsletter, music newsletter, February music newsletter. And I get a really good open rate with that because people know that's what they're expecting. It's like, oh, it's Tanya. I need to open this. I need to see what she's up to. But for my weekly emails or from my clients' emails, I come up with engaging subject lines that are relevant to those subscribers. So I'm always looking for, whether it's the product that we're selling for one of my clients or the product I'm selling, what is going to pull them in and make them interested in opening this email so they can read the next part and the next part and the next part and click on that link.
Yeah, tell me if a small business, for example, doesn't have a large budget for marketing, how important do you think they should pinpoint their focus on email marketing specifically in order to grow and expand? What are your thoughts there?
Okay, so email marketing is actually the highest return on investment marketing channel you can use. And I'm completely serious about this. If you put $44, if you put $1 into your email marketing, you can get up to $44 back. That's a huge return on investment. Whereas Facebook ads, I think it's like, if you put in $1 and you get $3 back, you're doing well. So when you look at the difference there, the reason I personally advocate for having that email list, yeah, maybe you're running Facebook ads, but you're driving people to something to get their email address, then what you're doing is you're increasing your chance of being able to communicate directly with them, because social media is great, online is great, but how many things are out there to distract them? That cute cat video of their friend popping up and them going off to look at that, or whatever is flashing next to them, the video that just started, what have you. They're not focused on you. They're focused on all of that other stuff. And if they see your ad, great. And if they click on your ad, even better. But once you get them into your system, you're going straight into their inbox. And when they open that email, they're sitting down for a conversation with you. You have their undivided attention. So that's why email marketing is so important. And you can get a much better return on investment in it. So I actually advocate for small businesses to start with an email list. That, don't run Facebook ads. Start with an email list. Grow that email list organically through a blog post or through, business cards or whatever it is that you do. If I used to grow my email list by putting out a piece of paper at my music shows and getting people to hand write their email address, name and email address down, which, trust me, was really frustrating to read sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But however it is you're doing that, start that way. And then you're getting customers into your business on a regular basis. So you have that larger budget to run Facebook ads, to run Google ads, to, you know, do whatever, you know, to run ads on YouTube, whatever it is you're going to do out there.
Yeah, and Tanya, how do you think authenticity and creativity are intermingled when it comes to email marketing or copywriting specifically? How do you think those two things are interconnected?
So I think that authenticity is key in your emails. Again, people want to get to know you. You know, they want to get to know Kevin. They want to know who you are and why they should have you as a speaker. They want to get to know me. They want to know why it is that I talk about email marketing so much and why I think it's so important, but also what it is that I do and why I do it. Why, you know, whether it's stories about my cats or stories about my former music career or what have you, being your authentic self, telling, you know, saying, making the silly, you know, science fiction references, or talking about your situation and your story and your disability and how you work with people to help them with their own disabilities and getting people employed with disabilities. That's stuff people want to know. That's important stuff. And that's what makes you authentic. Whereas if you just, you know, write something very bland and boring, people are going to say, oh, I've seen that. I don't want to read this person's emails anymore. And they're going to unsubscribe, which isn't serving you. So authenticity is incredibly important. Creativity, I think, comes with authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can, when you're being your authentic self, you give yourself more permission to be creative. Whereas when you're writing in a little tiny narrow box that you don't feel like you can go out of, you have to stay, you know, within this little defined thing that isn't your authentic self. You're not giving yourself permission to go outside the box. You're not giving yourself permission to be creative with what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tanya, if you look at, if I asked you to take out a crystal ball to predict the future of email marketing and copywriting 5 to 10 years down the road, what do you think your crystal ball would reveal to you, my friend?
I see copywriting and email marketing going two ways. Number one will be those people who are like, oh, I can just get AI to do this for me. And they will all sound exactly the same, and they'll sound like robots. And whereas their marketing may work, it won't be anywhere near as effective as if they actually are putting the human into it. I like to say computers don't know how to human yet. Whereas the people who, even if they use AI for idea generation and to get started, who actually take the time to inject their personality, inject their authenticity, and tell their stories, those are going to be the people who are even more successful because they are actually building that relationship. Now, the other thing that I see within the next 5 to 10 years that's already happening and has been happening for years is more customization. So I will know more about you, Kevin, when you are on my email list. So I can customize my emails specifically to your needs. I'll know what you're interested in, you know, which product or service on my website you're most interested in, and I'll be able to customize my email to go more to your needs and to direct you to that product than just writing a broadcast email that goes to everybody. I see a lot more of that happening. And I think it's really important because it's really keeping people on that customer journey from being, you know, I have a problem that I want to solve, to I know how I want to solve the problem, to I have solved the problem with this product or service.
Yeah, and just before I ask you my last question, I'm wondering if you had any final thoughts on the importance of adding value. I want to go back to the whole point of adding value through email marketing and the importance of that, and any final thoughts you would have in that regard.
Sure. So one of my favorite copywriters, a fellow named Nick Usborne, has the phrase he calls help, 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 sell. So really, we are all business people and we are selling something. But really what we're doing is we're being in service to the people who buy from us. This is, if you go about your business thinking of it as I need to make money, all I want to do is sell stuff, it's a very different attitude towards yourself, towards your customers, towards your business, than saying, I have something that I can use to help people live a better life. I am serving my customers. That I want to make money attitude is great if you want to make one sale. The I want to serve people and be there for them and help them solve their problems attitude is much, much better if you want customers for life, if you want repeat customers, if you want people to recommend your business to their friends and family. And the reason I say that is for years, we've always talked about the bottom line and, making lots of profit. But what if instead we're looking at how we're doing good in the world and helping our people to live better lives? That incorporates a more holistic look. And yes, we still need to make money, but that comes as part of serving the people we are looking to buy from us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Tanya, my final question has to do with legacy and forming your own legacy. So if I asked you to write yourself a letter and put it in a time capsule, and someone was to read it 10 years after you died, how do you think you would want that person to perceive your life and your legacy, my friend?
Wow, that's a really good question to end on, Kevin. That's really intense. Okay, so I always like to say that the hill that I will die on is that you do need to build that relationship with your customers. You need to send those nurture emails. You need to give them a reason to remember who you are and want to buy from you. And I hope that I am remembered as someone who is encouraging business owners, businesses, and people in general to build relationships. Because as much as we all like to think that we're strong, independent people and we can go it alone, we're all interconnected and we have to work together. We need to coexist. We need to work with each other to get what we all want, whatever that thing may be. And by building relationships, by encouraging businesses to respect and appreciate their customers and getting their customers respect and appreciation in return, I just think we're going to have a better world and a better attitude towards each other. And I think that sending out nurture emails is a really good way to start that relationship.
Absolutely. And Tanya, finally tell me, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
The best place to find me is at Tanya Brody Copywriter, all one word. And it's TanyaBrodyCopywriter.com. That is my website. And there you can find that list that I mentioned of 30 subject lines that you can download and use to write your own emails and adapt them to your business, along with a bunch of writing prompts to help you out. You can find out more about what I do. You can find that blog post on how long an email should really be. It's there. And I would love to see folks there. I would love for you to join my email list and find out what I do every week by subscribing and getting my advice on email every week. And thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, I have to tell you, I was delighted to engage in conversation with you. Hopefully, I matched your abundant energy during our conversation. You're doing important work to help business people move their needle of progress forward through copywriting and email marketing. And I want to thank you for the good work that you do and for engaging in conversation. Your time on my behalf and work in this space is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here today.
You are very, very welcome. It was a pleasure talking with you, and you definitely matched my energy today, Kevin. Thank you for a wonderful conversation.